Hey everyone, this is Gerald Combs. I'm the creator and lead developer of Wireshark, and this is Sharkbites, the official Wireshark podcast. We've been on hiatus for a while, but we are back with a brand new episode, and it's covering something very important and very near and dear to my heart. We're introducing the WCA, which stands for Wireshark Certified Network Analyst, and is a certification program centered around Wireshark. With us here today are Chris Greer and Ross Bagurtis. They are the forces behind the WCA. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shark Bites, the official Wireshark podcast. I'm Gerald Combs, the creator of Wireshark, and today we are going to talk about something very exciting. Wireshark is sponsored by something called the Wireshark Foundation, which is a nonprofit that we set up that has a mission to help educate people about networks and protocol analysis. I mean, our actual mission is to help as many people as possible understand their networks as much as possible. And toward that goal, we are announcing something called the WCA, the Wireshark Certified Analyst Certification Program. And with me here today is Chris Greer and Ross Bagurtis, who created this certification program. And Chris, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, Gerald, great to be here with you. Thanks for having me. As you mentioned, so my name is Chris Greer. I am a Wireshark content developer and instructor, also YouTuber, and I've been a frequenter of the Sharkfest conference that happens a couple times a year. So it's an honor to be here, and it's been especially an honor to be a part of this exciting new certification.
And Ross?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ross Bagurtis, and I'm happy to be here too. I'm super excited to talk about the Wireshark certification program. And my background here is I've been involved with the foundation and Sharkfest for 7 or 8 years now. I teach classes for the foundation at Sharkfest, as well as my own content, which is hosted on Pluralsight and as well as on YouTube.
So if you're somebody who works in the networking field and is interested in getting this certification, what if I go ahead and try to get this certification, if I take the exam, what can I expect when I take that exam?
So yeah, when you sign up for the exam, so first off, like the process of going through that is first, you want to go to wireshark.org/certifications. And there you'll find a bunch of information about the exam, which we'll talk about today. But most importantly is you're going to find the list of certification objectives there. And those certification objectives is the outline of all of the stuff that you need to know in order to successfully pass the WCA exam. And it's a pretty extensive list of objectives. So once you have those objectives well studied, you can then register for that exam at wireshark.org/certifications through our trusted certification exam vendor, which is WebAssessor. And you'll register for an account there, you'll pay for the exam there, and schedule the time to take it either online as a proctored exam right from your home computer, or you can go into a Criterion testing center to take that exam.
Who do you see as the ideal candidate for taking this exam?
I think there's lots of candidates, and my background is pretty much in hardcore data networking, routing, switching, basically the CCNA, CCNP level certifications in that realm, not specifically focused on Cisco, but just networking in general. And the way I see this is it's a certification that would be a great add-on to somebody who has a CCNA. So when I was a hiring manager in engineering, in network engineering, one of my staff had really great Wireshark skills, and it set him aside from the rest of the staff. Now, the rest of the staff had outstanding network engineering skills, but my engineer who had the Wireshark skills just stood out from the crowd of the rest of the engineers on the team. So my vision of this is that if you have a CCNA and then on top of it, you're able to earn your WCA certification, that's going to make you stand out like a sore thumb in the best way possible on a network engineering team, because it's going to demonstrate that you really know how these protocols operate and how to use a tool like Wireshark to analyze them. something that the CCNA doesn't really teach you much about at all. Chris, do you have something you want to add to that?
So, Gerald, back to your question, how really what makes it separate, what makes it different? And these other industry certifications, I mean, which are fantastic. I mean, sometimes they'll touch on a packet analysis topic or two. Specifically Cisco, it's like it's more about speeds and feeds, right? Like, so router switches, how to path traffic, but not studying the traffic itself. I think most of our listener base, certainly everyone here on this podcast, understands the power of analyzing that traffic itself. And what we did is we studied the industries. We found that there's a bit of a spot there that it's a hole where it's missing a specific certification. A lot of times certifications go around a specific vendor, or even might be a generic technology-based certification like the CompTIA certifications. So what the Wireshark certification does, it just really fills in that hole of doing traffic analysis. Now, what type of person would be a good candidate? Really, I mean, anything that touches packets. I mean, now that spans so many different skill sets within the IT organization. It used to be just network engineers, but now we're talking cybersecurity professionals, people that are doing IDS, IPS analysis, even developers, cloud engineers. So if your job involves packet analysis, then this is a cert that can help you to demonstrate that proficiency. Or better yet, if you're going for a job that requires that skill set, here's a way to demonstrate that you have it. So really if you go on LinkedIn and you type in Wireshark and you're looking for jobs, any job that has that word on it, this would be a way to go into that interview and say, I am certified in that tool, and really stand out amongst the field.
Cool. Now, if I'm a hiring manager, like Ross was talking about before, and I am thinking about maybe adding this or suggesting this, for candidates applying for a job, how can I be assured that this is an actually good quality certification? I mean, other than going to the Wireshark Foundation site or the Wireshark site and us saying, "Hey, trust us, bro. This is a good cert." How do I know that this is something worthwhile that I should be asking people to go for?
Well, I think first and foremost, when we started this process of building this exam, both Chris and I wanted to make sure that the foundation had a high quality exam. So we reached out to some of the best, brightest engineers that use Wireshark and have been for decades now to help us develop the curriculum for it. So that's those objectives, the certification objectives. So we had some of the best engineers help us design those objectives, and then we vetted it through the foundation and the engineers that work with the foundation to both develop Wireshark as well as teach about it and just simply do troubleshooting with Wireshark. And then on top of it, when we built that exam, we went through some pretty extensive testing, both alpha testing and beta testing, with some of those same engineers as well as people out in the industry to make sure that that exam really honed in on testing an individual to see what their skills with using Wireshark are, in addition to, and almost more importantly, understanding how the protocols operate. Because if you don't understand how the protocols operate, Wireshark is almost it's a very challenging application to use. But if you have some idea of how those protocols work, Wireshark becomes your best friend in analyzing it.
Really, I think something that I would just highlight as well, I think Ross touched on it, is that this isn't a certification that just two guys in a lab came up with and hatched. I mean, just to really emphasize that, this is really, I mean, we might be the two faces in front of a community, but the community is what really was brought together to bring it forward and keep it the quality that it is. And members within that community taking it, sitting it, and embracing it. So really, I think it represents the Wireshark community as a whole, and what we have collectively felt would be the level a test like this should accomplish.
Yeah, something that was incredibly important to Chris, myself, and the foundation itself was that this was a well-vetted exam that industry leaders helped design and put together. So This isn't something that, like Chris said, it just isn't something that two guys came up with by the seat of their pants. Was really well designed by industry leaders in the Wireshark community.
Um, you mentioned that, and I do know that you two have been working on this in earnest for since last summer, or last fall. You'll have to remind me, but um, and the process was very long and arduous and thorough. Is there anything that you learned about this that you know kind of surprised you, or?
That's a good question. I think I'll share that just that it's a whole lot more. I think initially when we first began, um, it let's just start creating questions. That's just the engineer model, right? Let's start creating something. And something that I really appreciated, and Ross helped me appreciate as well, just there's a lot of steps that happen and go into place before you get to that point. And even meeting with and checking different test vendors and platforms and looking at their pros and cons and seeing which one would be the best fit for the certification. We went through several of them. We interviewed them. We found out some of the costs. And, hosting a certification is not free, and that's why we can't give it away free.
Right.
So we have to recover some of those costs and also benefit the foundation. So there were really, a lot of hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours have been spent in all the different facets. Test creation was part of that, but even continuing to align with the goals of the foundation and make sure that every step along the way that the foundation felt good about where the test was, and that we keep in line with what the foundation's long-term goals are.
Yeah, I think for me, like the challenges came when writing questions based on the objectives. Like, I think writing the objectives was actually a lot easier than I had anticipated, just because of the great team we had involved doing it. The challenge with question writing for these, especially when you're limited by your exam vendor. So we have very limited options of question types. We have multiple choice, multiple selection, fill in the blank. And when you're limited with the questions like that, it can often be difficult to write a question that is really testing your knowledge and your skill set and your engineering ability, versus just having a bunch of trivia questions of, do you know what this specific code is for this particular protocol? So when you're writing questions like that, getting the language just right, getting the answers just right, so that the question is challenging but not impossible to answer, where you're not testing somebody on minutia, and you're also not testing somebody on a trivia question, but you're really trying to get after their ability to use Wireshark and their engineering skills. It's a very challenging thing to do.
That sounded like a very polite way of saying that engineers are pedantic.
Maybe.
That was a pedantic read on that question, Gerald.
Yeah, it was. It just comes naturally.
Eh,
Um, if somebody does want to take this and wants to prepare for it, what's the most effective way to prepare for this?
I think something that we would highly recommend is got to have hands-on. You got to have working knowledge of Wireshark, as Ross mentioned already. And this isn't trivia. This isn't just flashcard style study that you do. And so if we look on the Wireshark page that's been mentioned, it's going to have a growing list of training options. And I think we're all aware that people learn in different ways. People enjoy different and consuming different types of content. So the foundation's working with several training providers to create and provide training platforms. It could be like a full course. It could be hands-on labs. It could be labs that all help to prepare you. So something we'd recommend is that any test taker, when they're looking at those objectives, just to make sure with whatever course methods or practice tests or labs they take, that they feel comfortable with those course objectives, and that they feel that they really fully can wrap their head around the intent behind that objective.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think a learner on their own could take those objectives and use just download Wireshark and look up the objectives, use something like the Wireshark wiki, and just work through it. But I think, like Chris says, you're probably better off checking out the wireshark.org/certifications page, which will have a listing of training opportunities there. One of which is going to be Sharkfest. So you can come to Sharkfest and get a 2-day intensive hands-on training at Sharkfest, both in the US and Europe, for this certification to get you prepped for it.
You bring up Sharkfest. The next one is coming up in June in Richmond, Virginia, and it's a special one because one of our keynote speakers is Vint Cerf, who is the father of the modern internet. One of the cool things about our industry is that you get to meet some of the pioneers, and Vint is definitely falls into that category. Plus, he's just such a great speaker and a great person. So
I'm so excited about that.
yeah.
Beat Radia Perlman a few years ago, and now I get to meet Vint Cerf. It's going to be amazing.
So yeah, just a quick plug for Sharkfest in there.
Yeah, and I think going forward too, Gerald, just to mention the Sharkfest aspect too, it's like we do have this body of knowledge that someone needs to be able to consume and feel comfortable on for the test.
Yeah.
That said, the 2-day pre-conference class will get you going. And I know in time we're going to continue to work to align Sharkfest sessions with different objectives on the test. So what that'll do is it'll extend into the week of Sharkfest and allow you to get even more hands-on, more comfort at different aspects. And that's the goal going forward. Now we have a way, even at Sharkfest, to have more of a certification track.
Yep.
So we'll continue to bring that forward as we develop it.
Yep.
Great. As someone who develops software, whenever I work on some major significant feature, I will introduce it and look for feedback from users and adjust that feature to kind of match that feedback. Have you found that the process is similar in developing the certification?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Chris and I, that was one of our priorities, is that we didn't want to go into this blind. I think both Chris and I are pretty confident about our skills in teaching this technology. We understand the technology very, very well. But when it comes to like how other people see it, that's always a challenge because language gets messy around protocols, right? There's a lot of extremely precise language that you need, but then some of the concepts around that precise language are a little bit loose, and you need that looser language to describe it. So when we approached this, we really wanted to make sure that we had high quality alpha testing and beta testing done. The information we got from alpha testing, we of course picked some very high level engineers that know this stuff extremely well. They've probably forgotten more about Wireshark than most network engineers have ever learned. And the feedback we got from them was important. It was when we brought in our beta testers, I think, that it really solidified things, because our beta testers were from a wider audience, and we noticed that some of the questions were just too hard. They're just too complicated. There's too much information on the screen, and they got overwhelmed with trying to answer the questions. So the feedback we got was that some of those questions were outstanding, but they just took so much time and were so consuming and so challenging to answer that we really just had to pare down some of those questions to make them more achievable and yet still be able to test that knowledge. So the other side of it, I mentioned this earlier, was the trivia end of it. We've had a couple beta testers say, this question here is more just a trivia question. It's not really testing any of your skills or your abilities. So, honestly, on an exam like this, you have to have some trivia type questions to just make sure that you know the topics. But I think it was important to fine tune those to make sure that it was an important topic. That's something that that you need to know about in order to answer those questions. So, to really get to what you're saying here, yes, it's just like software development, where you need to get feedback from the people using it to be able to make a high quality exam like this. And I feel like we've really done our best to engage all kinds of members of our community at all different skill levels to really see where our exam questions are at.
And I think something nice that happened as well, which is one of those like pie in the sky things, like that you hope that that would be the best outcome ever. Uh, that did happen was some of the beta testers, they represent pretty large organizations. And something that we had asked them after they sat the test was, okay, two things. One, if someone came in and had this on your resume, would you understand more about what they really know, having sat the cert? And in both cases, the answer was yes. And the other thing that we were interested in is this the type of thing that you would be interested in putting on a job description? Like, would you, if you are now looking for skilled engineers, do you think this would quantify that? And again, the answers were positive. So I think that was really the goal, to give someone the ability to both demonstrate and also on the employer end to validate a candidate and to make it to where the industry could really embrace this certification as being at a good level. So we were very excited to see that happen during the beta phase.
Cool. So is there anything in the works for an intermediate level exam or a higher level exam after this?
Something that Chris and I have been talking about with this is, how do we pursue that? And I think, when we started this process, we really did want to make sure that the foundation was well represented and that we had a high quality exam. And as we roll this out and promote it and get people certified, one of our goals here is to expand the audience of who is designing the curriculum for these exams. Like right now, we stuck with the foundation, extremely high quality engineers. But in the future, we want to roll this out and get organizations that are heavy users of Wireshark involved as well. And I think going forward for how we design future certifications is going to be heavily dependent upon what the industry wants us to certify people on. So if we need something that is another entry to mid-level certification that tests on a slightly different aspect of how Wireshark is used, we would definitely pursue that, or maybe take it to a higher level and do more deep dive into TCP operations so that we have some engineers that can get certified on their ability to really troubleshoot TCP and demonstrate their understanding of it.
Cool. Yeah, I do know that, in our user community, we do definitely have users that focus on different industries, like VoIP is a big one, and security and all these other categories. So I could definitely see us expanding this out to address these specific needs that people have and these areas that people work in.
Yeah, exactly. Especially as the industry grows to use Wireshark and packet analysis more, which I know it has. We just keep generating more packet and more challenges. So as that grows, we're just going to need more and more engineers. So just need a way to establish that those engineers have the skill set for the jobs and give a credential to go along with that.
All right, suppose I am an audience member and I'm sold on this and I really want to get that certification. What's the easiest way to get started?
That's a great question, Gerald. With a lot of the other certifications, I hear other YouTubers mention this, just start with what's free. You have access to the objectives. You can go to the Wireshark page, the certifications page. You can download them. You can take a look at them. And then many of those topics are covered out just for free out there on YouTube, and come along with a practice PCAP, or the Wireshark wiki has a lot of demo info. Go to ask.wireshark.org. There's people chatting about different answers to different things. So just start with the free stuff and just get your hands dirty. After that, some of the training that you'll see there will take that level up and give you a more focused, a more structured way to prepare comprehensively for the certification. So that gives somebody of whether they're just starting out, don't have a lot of cash, to just want a more formal training. There really is something for everybody there.
Yeah, I jump on exactly what Chris said. Start with the free stuff. Make sure you have those objectives handy, right? That's really the core of it, is in those certification objectives. And if you start with that, that's the best way to get started. I can't say enough about Sharkfest. Like Chris had mentioned earlier, attending Sharkfest and attending the introductory class, the first 2 days of Sharkfest, is a really great way to get started with this. And because you get hands-on exercises, you get Chris and I there helping you right by your side. And we've curated all of these exercises over many years to really focus you on the most important topics of the certification exam. And then the rest of Sharkfest is some of the smartest, brightest, most brilliant engineers in data networking and engineering development that come and present these topics. And even if there is a topic that isn't directly addressing what's on the certification, just sitting in these sessions is enough to really help you hone in on details inside of the packet captures that are important, which is really the skill that we're testing you on. If you understand how to drill down and use the little details in the packets and the headers to troubleshoot information, that's where this is all at. And just being inspired by listening to other presenters talk about how they use Wireshark is a really critical skill, and that's exactly what the exam is after. So just by attending Sharkfest is a big step forward. Additionally, just like Chris says, there's some free resources out there, and then once you reach your limit with those, you can start to reach out and see what additional type of paid training is available at wireshark.org/certifications.
So just to be clear, you should not deploy a major production change on a Friday to learn how to troubleshoot networks.
Typically, that's not recommended.
Okay.
But you said that you like the engineering pedantic thing, it's your choice, Gerald. You can.
All right. I'll try not to do that then.
So it's always you're always down for adventure.
You're going to learn how to troubleshoot by, being thrown into the fire, which isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you, Chris and Ross, for all the hard work that you've put in creating the certification. I've been kind of watching from the sidelines, but I do appreciate the work that you put into this. And I am excited about this. And this is going to be a very beneficial thing for our community. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And Gerald, honestly, Chris and I could not have done this without your support and your leadership. It was really all about you in sending out this message that you're putting the cert creation into Chris and I's hands, and just being a great leader and engaging the community to make sure that we have the support we needed to get this done. So we can't be more grateful for that. So thank you.
And I just copy exactly what Russ said. Appreciate, Gerald, you and the foundation support. And also, too, just to let listeners know as well, speaking of support, that when you do take this certification, it directly goes to support the foundation as well. So, the foundation is alive because of generous donors, because of Sharkfest, different contributions that come in as an open source project, as a nonprofit. So this certification not only would benefit the listener or the test taker in demonstrating their skill set, but you're going right back and supporting the Wireshark project as a whole. So it really, we wanted it to be a win-win, and we see it continuing to be a viable revenue source for the foundation. So we hope that continues.
Great. Thanks.